Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're having a good week. Hope the week is going well for you, and that you, your family, your friends, everyone in your world is staying strong and healthy right now. And of course, those NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs are rolling along right now. And you know, it's kind of interesting because we're seeing a couple of favorites stumbling in the NBA. And you know, it's interesting. When I was coaching in high school, we used to always say, in big games, your true strength can show, but in big games, your biggest flaws will also show. And we are seeing exactly that right now in the NBA playoffs. Over in the Eastern Conference, the number one seed Detroit Pistons, they're now down 3-1 to the number 8 Orlando Magic. Why? Because their biggest flaws are showing. Here's the problem for the Pistons. They don't have anyone that can just go get a bucket when they absolutely need it besides Cade Cunningham. So when the Magic decide, hey, whoever scores, it's not going to be Cade. We're going to blanket him on every single play. Someone else has to step up. And apparently no one else is capable of doing that. I mean, it's not over. But the Pistons have some serious problems. They're going to have to find a way to now win 3 games in a row. It's not just in the East. We have an upset brewing in the West as well, as my number 3 Denver Nuggets are now down 3-2 against the number 6 Minnesota Timberwolves. But it's the exact same situation. The Nuggets have just been outscoring teams all year. That's wonderful. But their defense is atrocious. And the Timberwolves have kind of put the clamps on Nikola Jokic and that offense. So now the terrible defense that they, just don't play at all is front and center for everyone to see. It's not just that. The Nuggets have a disadvantage at head coach. Their role players are getting outplayed, especially when they are on the road. Now, having said that, this series, it's not quite over yet. The Nuggets avoided elimination on Monday night, and with the Timberwolves losing both Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo to injuries, the Nuggets could get rolling and get back in this. Remember, they did come back from a 3-1 deficit in the bubble, but that's not the same. Nothing about the bubble was the same. There wasn't a road crowd. There wasn't a home crowd. It's not the same. That bubble season honestly could just be thrown out. Now the Nuggets and the Wolves will be squaring up on Thursday night in Game 6. If Denver wins that, the final Game 7 will come back to the Mile High City. If not, the Timberwolves will advance and move on. Now, if I had to bet, honestly, I'd take the Wolves at home because the Nuggets can't play defense and they have very little toughness on that roster. One added note in that series. I've been asked a few times by listeners, as a coach, what I thought of that whole Nikola Jokic, Jaden McDaniels little tiff they had at the end of Game 2, I believe it was, where the Timberwolves were up like 14 and McDaniels got the ball with seconds remaining and he didn't just dribble the ball out. He scored a basket instead, and Nikola Jokic took offense to that. He ran down there, and then an NBA fight ensued, complete with pushing and, guys saying, hold me back. Nothing really happened. Was McDaniels wrong for scoring? No, not necessarily. You can do anything once, right? Remember, there may be repercussions later, but there's nothing inherently wrong with scoring. They should have stopped you. Was Jokic wrong for being offended by McDaniels scoring? Again, not necessarily, although he probably should have been offended for the other points McDaniels scored that night when the game was in the balance. But, remember back in the 80s and 90s, you did something like that, you might get your head busted open. It was a different league then. This whole skirmish thing, to me, it was a lot to do about nothing. There were no punches thrown. There was no blood. There was really no nothing. Typical of the NBA today. These just aren't very tough guys. Hey, today on The Dose, we are going to be recapping that 2026 NFL Draft. Is it way too early to hand out winners and losers? Yeah, probably. Do we care? No, not really. In fact, we have so much to get to, we need to jump in right now. Joining us this week on the Daily Dose, we have our illustrious panel of NFL experts. We are going to be wrapping up that 2026 NFL Draft. And you might notice we are short one person on the panel today because Big Rob had some things he needed to attend to. Let's just put it that way. I think Rob was chasing something or other this week and he couldn't make it in. So it'll just be the three bulls.
Not to worry. I'll tell the maitre d' it'll just be the three bulls.
First up, we have Mike out in Castle Rock on the Colorado Plains. Mike, which Colorado-based team is annoying you the most right now, would you say?
Oh, it's got to be the Nuggets.
Yeah. And you know why? Because of those expectations. Because the Rockies were just used to them being horrible. The Broncos, they're kind of out of season. We're at least feeling okay about them. But the Nuggets, they're hurting our feelings right now. That has been absolutely horrible. I'm really, really disappointed.
Yeah, the fact that the Rockies have more wins now than they did in mid-July last year.
We're feeling strong about the Rockies this year.
It's a little encouraging, but yeah, it's Nuggets are hurting us.
Yes, they are. Yeah, it's Rocktober early this year, I guess, apparently, because they're actually doing kind of some things right. And I think we might actually have some moves in ownership trending in the right direction. So that's positive. Next up, we have the savvy veteran, DU Pioneer, Bronco fan, Avalanche fan, Nuggets fan, sometimes Utah Ute fan, Larry from Centennial. Larry, have you been skiing at all this year?
Yes.
And how warm was the water?
Although I've forgotten how the water was. It's been that long. It's been at least a month or so since we hung them up, but it's been good hiking for the last month and a half, right?
Sure. So, yeah. Mike's up there hiking. Yeah. You guys are probably passing each other as you go by because hiking is all we have right now because we're not getting any snow in the state. And I don't know why, because a lot of the country is under snow. We can't get a flake here. Gentlemen, the 2026 NFL Draft is now in the books. Was it a great draft? No, probably not. Will it be a memorable draft? Again, probably not. Is it the worst draft class of all time? I don't think it is, but we did see some winners. We did see some losers. And yes, it is way too early to say how these things are going to bode long-term, but we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. Let's tee this up to Larry. Larry, do you have a winner from this 2026 NFL Draft? And we'll kind of go around the horn and get some winners and get some losers. But do you have a winner?
Well, I think that I would put Cleveland on my list of winners.
You're right.
They had a ton of draft picks. It looks like they drafted smart, and we'll see, right? Obviously, but I put Cleveland on that list.
I agree with you. You know, I thought when Cleveland was on the board that early, I think they were at number 6, and I'm going, oh, they're going to take something shiny. They're going to take something they shouldn't take. They need to go get some offensive line help, and they actually did it. They actually made sense. They went and got Spencer Fano, big offensive lineman. We'll see if he's big enough, if his reach is enough, but they needed that. And then they went and got a few wide receivers. I like the Concepcion kid out of A&M. I think they actually did things that made sense. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm saying that. Yeah, I agree with you, Larry. Right. I think Cleveland was actually pretty good. Mike, who's your first winner? Who do you have?
I think the Giants did exactly what they needed to do. A stud linebacker and a starting tackle. I think they took full advantage of having 2 top 10 picks there.
Well, yeah, and that's a good point because they did. They have 2 guys in the first 10 picks. John Harbaugh, maybe he's already rubbing off. They went out and got a couple of guys that can upgrade that defense, and we saw firsthand here in Denver that defense needs to be upgraded because I think, Bo Nix just scored again on the Giants defense. So, and that's been a few months ago. So yeah, I would agree with that. I'm going to throw out another winner on my end, and I'm going to give NFL teams a little free advice. You don't have to listen if you don't want to, but it's going to help you in the long run if you do. If your caller ID says Howie Roseman, don't answer because you're about to get fleeced. Hey, the Philadelphia Eagles the draft was solid. The draft was okay. They went out and they got the wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon out of USC, and they probably need him because it looks like A.J. Brown to believe in. They went and got Eli Stowers out of Vandy, and they need some targets in the offensive passing game especially. But that wasn't even where they get the winner for me. They went and sent 2 like third rounders to Minnesota and got an outside linebacker in Jonathan Grenard. That is exactly what they need. They fill a need. They do it on the cheap again. Roseman is fleecing the NFL. I don't get it. I don't understand why people are doing deals with him, but they are. And the Eagles, I think, won again. They just keep winning the NFL draft over and over again. All right, Larry, we are up to you. Who is your first loser so far?
Well, this is going to sound funny, and but I was concentrating on the home team, right? And I think I'd put the Denver Broncos in the loser category. Now, I'm not saying their picks were losers.
Okay.
I think they had some good picks, but man, they didn't pick in the top 2 rounds, right?
Yeah.
And I think that hurts, right?
It has to.
There is a talent drop off between mid first round and then, everybody else, I guess. And so if you don't have a shot at some of those high end talents, that's going to hurt you eventually. Again, it was more of a just, they didn't have
a lack of picks. Yeah.
Lack of top quality or top tier picks. So yeah, that's where I go with.
And I understand that. And so many of their picks, not only were they not in the top, we know they traded away their first round pick and picked up Jalen Water from Miami. Yep. So we get that. But then a lot of the picks they did have, they were like the end of the 7th round. They were like compensatory picks because they have done so many shuffles and so many, so many trades. Yeah, they just didn't have many picks. And the ones that they did have were really, really late. Yeah, I can understand that. I actually like some of the picks they made, but you're right. They were way, way later in the taking. So yeah, I get that. Mike, who's your first loser?
Well, you got a team that's in a Super Bowl window. I believe that they're a favorite to come out of the NFC. You've only got 5 picks in the entire draft, and you take your first pick for a guy who's not going to see the field. I don't get what the Rams did with the draft. I don't get it.
I don't either. If I were to ask you what NFL team currently has the highest Vegas odds of going to the Super Bowl, it is the Rams right now. And they go use, what was it, a number 13?
13.
On a guy, by the way, who is not in any way a done deal. Not only do you not necessarily need him, because you do have a backup in Winston Benner, whoever it is, but a guy that isn't proven at all. He's played like 15 games in his entire collegiate career. They go get Ty Simpson out of Alabama. The 15 games weren't that impressive either. And here's the problem that I have with it too. And this panel knows this very, very well, because we remember when this happened in Denver in 92 and the Denver Broncos went out and got Tommy Maddox. When John Elway is begging for another wide receiver, he's begging for a skill position guy, and they go get Tommy Maddox out of UCLA. Hey, that doesn't usually go well. Now you've split your locker room. Now you've tipped off your coaching staff. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I had the Rams as a loser as well.
I will say, I did see the coverage, and it didn't look like their head coach was happy with the pick either. So they were not in alignment on that.
Agreed. And it almost felt like that was a power struggle between the front office and their head coach. And I think that might be what it was. And if it was, Rams, I know you're going to be the Super Bowl favorite this year, especially coming out of the NFC. I might start getting a little bit nervous about that. I don't like how that played out.
I was just going to say, I think the kid would have been available in the 3rd or 4th round.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And that's the problem is they could have waited. There wasn't anybody trying to race to go get Ty Simpson. I think they could have got him much later. I just don't understand it. I'm going to give a loser.
Wide receivers available at that slot.
They need another wide receiver. Puka is the guy, and not much else after him. They could have used another wide receiver. I don't understand the thinking. I don't. Maybe it is a power struggle in that front office. I don't know. I'm going to give a loser, and I'm going to give it to ESPN for the coverage of the NFL draft. If you missed it, the draft changed the first round. I think it used to be like 15 minutes between picks to like 8 minutes. Well, 15 to like 10. Well, this year it was 8. Apparently no one told ESPN because they were so far behind in the picks. They were like a full 10 minutes and like 2 picks behind. And I try to stay off of like social media. I don't want to know. I want to watch the live reactions or whatever. I couldn't There was no way. They were so far behind. It was so bad. In fact, it was so bad that that ESPN and the NFL Network, they actually made the top pick, Las Vegas Raiders, number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza. He had to pretend to get picked again. And you can see it. There are 2 different reactions from NFL Network to ESPN. ESPN, what are you doing? I thought you were the worldwide leader in sports. You couldn't keep up better than that. Catch up. That was painful.
Well,
right,
what was with a 3/4 mile walk from the room to the stage?
Oh my goodness. All the way down that long hallway, and they're touching all the logos. Just get him up on stage. We don't need him to have to take a jog. It wasn't very good. ESPN needs to do a better job with that. All right, we're going back around. Larry, if you got another winner for us?
I do, but it's a package, because I think the AFC West did a pretty good job all around. Like, Kansas City got better, Chargers got better, and believe it or not, I think the Raiders got better.
I think they did.
I put the Raiders up there as far as winners go, but as a whole, I think the AFC West is kind of nailed it for the most part.
That division is going to be, tough again this year. And I know this last year with injuries, it kind of dropped a little bit, especially from the standpoint of Kansas City. We'll see how they end up bouncing back. And if that defense, is Kansas City still a Super Bowl contender? And I know it's early to ask that right now, but is Kansas City still a Super Bowl contender? Because the offense has taken a step back. Kelsey's a year older. We don't know when Mahomes is going to be fully ready to go. They're going to be really, really interesting to watch this year. I really like what the Chargers did. I think the Chargers kind of killed it again. They keep making good moves. The Raiders, I like what they did. I'm not sure about having Kirk Cousins as the mentor, but you do you. I understand it. I'm just not sure that I'm full in on that. But
and I'll say this too, Clint. Like, whether he's the mentor or not, he's at least agreed, to be some sort of mentor. So that works. And if you look at the coach QB combo in the AFC West, it's
getting nasty.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're exactly right there. Mike, who's your next winner? You have another winner for us?
I actually kind of like what Buffalo did. No big splashy picks, but they didn't see what they liked when their first round. They ended up trading. Did they pick 10 guys?
Yeah, they actually took quite a haul. And when you're looking at what they had to start with, because I think they traded down twice.
Yeah. Traded down twice, ended up making 10 picks. So build some depth, maybe pull a couple starters out of there. I think I like what they did.
Sure. And when you're talking about that team, you're talking about, hey, how can we possibly get some more help on this team? How can we somehow get Josh Allen to win something? I know he's getting compared to John Elway, but he's got to win a lot more, playoff games before we can really make that comparison. But they've got to get him some more help because he's not John Elway. Sorry. I'm going to give a winner, and I'm going to give it to one special group as well. If you have a child and you want them to get drafted into the NFL, I hope they're big, because offensive linemen are at a premium in this league. In the 6 rounds of the NFL draft, there are 257 players drafted. 50 of them were offensive linemen alone. By comparison, 27 defensive linemen, 37 wide receivers, not bad, 10 quarterbacks. Offensive lineman is where it is at, because it is so difficult to play that position. It is so difficult to find quality offensive linemen. Everyone is on the look for a good offensive lineman. If you can find a bargain, you're going to draft him. They don't always get the recognition. They don't get the big contracts always, but offensive linemen are a big winner in this draft for sure, because there was a bunch of them taken. All right, Larry, you got another loser for us. Let's go losers again.
Yeah, I got a loser. Pittsburgh, I think. I don't know if they did anything to improve their team. And this is less draft related, but it could have been draft related. They're waiting on Aaron Rodgers again, and they're willing participants in the circus, right? So, and I know they did beef the team up a little bit, but I don't know that they've taken care of anything that is going to win them a playoff game.
Well, and did you see the late pick of the quarterback? They select Drew Aller out of Pittsburgh, and he grew up a Browns fan. He doesn't want to put the hat on. He looks at the hat and he's like, kind of picks his nose for a minute. He looks at the hat again. He doesn't want to put it on. I'm like, I don't know. That might not be a good situation there. But yeah, they're, like you said, they're still waiting around on Rodgers. I think he's probably going to come back. But again, you're waiting around for something that we already kind of know how this story ends. So I would agree with you.
It just makes no sense. I mean, if you've got, if you know, every other team in the league knows what holes they need to fill by the time the draft comes around.
Right.
But they tend to not want to know what's going on, I guess. So
I guess. Hey, they got Mike McCarthy though.
and Drew Allard,
who doesn't want to be there. So yeah, I could see making Pittsburgh a loser for sure. Mike, you got another loser for us?
I didn't like Jacksonville's draft.
I didn't either.
I thought there might have been two or three other tight ends that I would have taken ahead of the guy who's ready to apply for Medicaid already.
Agreed.
He's going to be 25 on game one, so that was an interesting pick. I just didn't like anything that they did. I didn't like Jacksonville's draft at all.
Well, and some of what Jacksonville did, we have to remember, goes back to last year's, where they did that big trade. They go up and get Travis Hunter, and everybody's all excited. And I understand it, but then same thing, you're out of picks. Now you don't have any picks. And the picks you do have, you better hit home runs on because you don't have many of them. So yeah, I would agree with that.
That's one of those deals where like last year's draft completely impacted this year's draft, right?
Yes, big. And
if it didn't work out last year, boy, yeah, they had a hole to dig out of, and they probably did not do that.
Right. And by the end of the year last year, I was really liking what Jacksonville had done, what they were doing and where they were going. I haven't liked their offseason that much. We'll kind of keep an eye on that. I'm going to give a loser. When you hear that phrase, hey, this team knew who they wanted and they targeted him and they went and got him. And where they got him is kind of insignificant. Just go get him. Yeah, these are the same people that you want to make sure you sell your house to, you sell your car to, you sell some beachfront, property in Wyoming to, because the idea that these picks don't have value is insane to me. Yes, you can use a first round pick to go get a third round guy if you want to, but these picks have value. You could have traded back and picked up more picks. You could have traded back and got more players. I don't understand why these so-called experts keep saying that. It's idiotic. There is value to a pick. Use them wisely. I don't get it. And we hear it every year. I don't understand it. All right. Hey, remember, you should be stopping by DailyDoseSports.com every week to check out the new things we have going on over there. We have links to the podcast, we have links to videos, and we have links to articles over there. A new article went up this week that did cover the Denver Nuggets, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Denver Broncos. So make sure you're stopping by there. Plus, you can pick up Daily Dose gear if you are in need. And remember, you can always email the podcast at dailydosesports@gmail.com. We do hear from listeners on the regular, and we would love to hear from you, so feel free to reach out. Larry, you got a final winner for us?
Let's see. Well, as hard as it is to say, I think Dallas had a good draft.
You're right. I do too.
They, and it comes out of nowhere, right? Because, of course, every draft Jerry Jones has gone through has been the best draft he's ever had. But
of course,
but no, I think they did a good job. They have solid picks, and I think will be the real deal come time to compete with Philadelphia, right?
Well, and at least they addressed need, because again, how many times have we seen them? That defense has been terrible for a decade now. Last year, they gave up 6 yards of play and I think 30 points a game. Yeah. They actually went out and drafted defensive guys. Here's how bad Dallas has been. We're giving them credit for doing what they should have been doing all this time, but we have to, because they haven't done it. I'm going to assume, until proven otherwise, that Jerry Jones fell asleep and they just told him who got picked, because there's no way he was involved.
They clicked the autopilot draft.
Yes. He signed it with an auto pen. Yes. Good point, Larry. Well done bringing the Jerry Jones Joe Biden comparison. Outstanding work on your end. Mike, who's your final winner?
I like what the Jets did. I mean, it's hard to miss when you have 3 first rounders again, just like the Giants. But I mean, the first pick overall, it might be for them, might be some controversy as to did they pick the right guy, but they did get a stud, right? Yeah. We all love the tight end that they picked, right? I mean, an absolute freak. Okay,
I wanted him,
and who didn't, right? And then a very good, probably starting wide receiver. So I think they absolutely nailed the first round. I think they overpick a quarterback in the first round, right? Because
Right.
they need one, right?
They do need one.
They went with skill players, and I think the Jets had a very good draft.
Yeah, which is completely foreign for us to see them not jack it up. But it looks like they actually got picks of need, and well, they kind of need everything. But they actually did it this time. They don't always do that. I'm going to give my final winner, and I'm going to give it to a very specific party. Might not be popular, but I'm going to give a winner to homeschooled kids. Yes, they're not going to look you in the eye. They probably are wearing a helmet even when they're not riding their bikes. But after seeing the success of Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, these kids are looking at life a little bit differently because they know now they can do it. They might fake cry after a big game. When they get drafted, it's going to be like an awkward celebration of missed high fives and stuff like that. But congrats to Fernando and all those homeschooled kids all over the world. Also, Las Vegas is going to be rough because when those lights are blinking, be careful is all I'm saying to those same homeschooled kids. Don't let those flashing lights throw you off. I don't want to see you wet your pants and forget who you are for 20 minutes. But homeschooled kids, outstanding job. All right, we're going to go around the horn one last time. Larry, give us your final loser of the 2026 NFL draft.
Well, it's not a loser in the sense that the guy's a loser, but on an individual basis, man, it was that Jermod McCoy.
Wait.
Yeah, and it was kind of unfair to him, right? Like everybody had him ranked high. The guy obviously has health problems, knee problems, and then just dropped off the cliff. So I felt bad for the guy. He's not a loser, but he ended up being one just based on where everybody had him, ranked, right?
Hey, we've seen it for years. Those guys sitting in that green room and they're just sweating and their girlfriend is getting nervous and they want to go home. And it happens to somebody every year and it's always painful. He's probably going to end up being a very good player, but you're right. That night, no, he's a loser because that has to be brutal to have to live through that. Agree with you 100%. Mike, who is your final loser of this NFL draft?
I've got it's hard to say this because I love the coach and the GM, but I think the San Francisco 49ers did not have a very good draft.
I agree with you.
Surface, you think it's such a well-run organization, but almost every one of their picks was a reach.
Yeah. And when you look back, especially recently, a lot of their picks are reaches. And again, like you said, that's a guy we like. We love John Lynch. Hey, we're rooting for that group. We're rooting for Shanahan. And it kind of seems like, I don't know, they're hitting a rough patch, or maybe it wasn't all it was supposed to be or something, but something's funky in San Francisco. And like you said, every single pick, I was like, him? Really? Okay. I don't know. San Francisco might be in for a bit of another year where they just kind of struggle. Hey, Shanahan's a great coach. They're going to be competitive, but I feel like they're starting to lose that level of talent that they did have for so many years. Seems like it's starting to fall a little bit. So yeah. I would understand that. I'm going to give my final loser and I'm going to give it to those Arizona Cardinals. Here's the problem. I like their top pick. In fact, I love their top pick. Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, I think might have been the best player in this draft, but the Cardinals don't have an offensive line. They don't have a quarterback. They have no defense, and they use the number 3 overall pick on a running back. Did they learn nothing by watching the Raiders last year, drafting Ashton Jeanty way too early, and all the kid did was get beat up all year, and then they're looking around like, well, we thought he was going to be good. It isn't his fault, and it won't be Love's fault when he gets hammered on every single play. But don't break this kid because you didn't surround him with enough talent, and I just worried that Arizona doesn't have enough talent to support this kid. And I know I heard all the experts saying he's a superstar. He's 1 in a million. He's not 1 in a million if he's getting beat up on every single play, and I think he is going to. So right. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I love that pick. Plus, it's Arizona, so it probably isn't going to go well in general. All right, gentlemen, we have finished up our winners and losers of the NFL draft. On the whole, that draft, I don't know if it was filled with many memorable moments, kind of a boring draft, but we could still get some very solid players coming out of this draft. And then we'll see how the upcoming drafts are going to be. But Larry, do you have any final thoughts? This is probably our last show until we're doing our NFL preview later this summer. I know it's going to be a while, but do you have any final thoughts for us? Anything you're watching? Anything you have going on?
Well, I do have a couple things. First,
DU
Pioneers, another title.
Another title.
keep winning titles, right?
They do over and over again. Yeah, it's actually unreal how much they win.
A lot of Utah kids, or a few Utah kids, got drafted, so that was good to see. I'll be in Utah. I've got some graduates next week.
Yes, you do. So, is that next week already?
That is on Friday. Done deal. Yeah.
Wow.
And
good for you.
As far as the NFL goes in the draft, like this did feel different, I think, this year. And I think we probably should get used to it, right? Like the whole kids staying in school longer because they can get paid. There's going to be more tape on these guys. Yeah, they're probably going to transfer around a little bit, but
a lot. Yeah.
I think there is going to be better evaluations. And so there's not going to be, like the surprises maybe that we've had in the past.
The Ted Gregory's of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little more boring, which, would mean that teams are doing their analysis and doing their research and might be better, better quality players getting picked in the spots, but it felt a little different this year. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
Obviously looking forward to, training camps and next and getting excited for that.
All right. Yeah. Mike, got any closing thoughts for us on this 2026 NFL draft or anything you're watching in this offseason or you're doing in this offseason? What do you have going?
I think one of the things you alluded to at the beginning was maybe one of the reasons why this was boring. So many interior linemen and non-sexy picks, right? I mean, this was a terrible quarterback draft.
Yep.
There was one stud running back. I don't know. I agree. It was kind of a ho-hum draft, but I've got a quick list here I want to run through you.
I'm excited for it.
So Dick Night Train Lane, Onio Gates, John Randall, and Kurt Warner. Not a single one of those players were drafted.
Yeah. No, you're right. And that's a really good point. Last week on the Dose, we did the worst draft classes ever. And it wasn't even that you didn't have some talent. It was that you didn't have, the big time talent, and you didn't have kind of same thing. You didn't have the sexy picks. You go back to like 2013, those top two picks, Jokel and the kid out of A&M, and you just go, not a sexy pick. And then it doesn't end up producing, you even go back to 2000 and you say, well, hey, it produced Tom Brady. Yeah, and that was kind of it. I mean, it had like one other, great player. So maybe this is just going to be that kind of draft, or maybe we're going to see eventually some depth at offensive line. Maybe some of these offensive linemen will actually turn out. It won't be sexy, but it will at least be effective. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for all your contributions to the Daily Dose. Thank you for breaking down the NFL draft with us as only we can here at the Dose. And I will we'll look forward to getting together again soon. And next time, we'll actually be looking forward to some NFL football, which I can't wait for because it's going to be a dry, long summer without it. But thank you both. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Clint.
Hey, next week on the Dose, yes, NFL free agency is done. Yes, the NFL draft is now done. But hey, every single team in the NFL still has some big questions to answer. We're going to be looking at those. And, of course, we'll be keeping you up on all that is going on in the world of sports. So be sure to check out the Dose next week, and be sure you let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you to each member of our illustrious panel, Mike and Larry, today for their contributions to the Daily Dose. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daily Dose every week. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the texts. Thank you for the tweets. But more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles with someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. Have to say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Not to worry. I'll tell the maitre d' it'll just be the 3 bowls.